The hidden signs someone secretly dislikes you. Let's be honest. Most people won't come right out and say they don't like you. That would be too direct, too uncomfortable. Instead, they hide behind fake smiles, forced politeness, and subtle behaviors that chip away at you over time. Maybe you've felt it before, that nagging suspicion that someone in your life isn't as friendly as they pretend to be. But without clear proof, you second-guess yourself. I've been there too, thinking someone was a friend, only to realize later they had been quietly rooting for my failure the entire time. It's a harsh reality, but one worth facing, because if you don't recognize the signs, you'll keep investing time, energy, and emotions into people who don't truly value you. So let's get real. No more overanalyzing. No more giving people the benefit of the doubt when they don't deserve it. Here are the unmistakable signs that someone secretly dislikes you but is too afraid to admit it. And trust me, you're better off knowing. 1. They always joke about your flaws, but it's not really a joke. We all have that one friend, right? The one who loves to crack jokes, always bringing a little humor to the group. But have you ever noticed that their jokes always seem to be aimed at you? And not just any jokes, ones that poke fun at your quirks, your mistakes, or the things you're most self-conscious about. I had a friend like that once. Let's call him Jake. Jake was the life of the party, always quick with a witty comment. At first, I admired his humor, until I realized I was his favorite punchline. He'd make comments like, "Man, I don't know how you function without coffee. Oh wait, you don't," or, "Hey, at least you're consistent, always late and always broke." The group would laugh, and I'd force a smile, pretending it didn't bother me. At first, I brushed it off. It's just Jake being Jake, right? But then I noticed something. He never made these jokes about our other friends. If someone else showed up late, he'd say, "No worries, man, glad you made it." If someone forgot their wallet, he'd spot them without a comment. But with me, it was always a joke, always a dig, always wrapped in a smile. One night, after a long day at work, I finally called him out. "Dude, why is it always me?" He laughed. "Relax, man, I'm just messing with you. You gotta learn to take a joke." And that's when it hit me. These weren't jokes. They were tests. See, people who consistently joke about your flaws aren't doing it just for laughs. They're testing how much disrespect you're willing to take. They want to see if you'll push back or if you'll just laugh along. Letting them chip away at your confidence one, harmless, comment at a time. It's a subtle form of control. If they can get you to accept the small jabs, they'll keep pushing the line. And the worst part? Society has conditioned us to believe that if we stand up for ourselves, we're the ones who can't take a joke. But here's what I've learned. Real friends don't need to put you down to make themselves look funnier, smarter, or more dominant. Real friends don't turn your insecurities into entertainment. So, if you've got a Jake in your life, someone who always seems to joke at your expense, pay attention. Notice the patterns. Do they make the same jokes about everyone? Or just you? Do they ever compliment you without a sarcastic remark attached? Do you leave conversations feeling good about yourself or doubting your worth? If their humor is always at your expense, it's not humor, it's a red flag. And the next time they say, "I'm just messing with you," remind yourself, your self-respect is worth more than their cheap laugh. 2. The compliments that feel more like insults. You ever get a compliment that makes you pause for a second? Like, on the surface, it sounds nice, but something about it just doesn't sit right? Yeah, me too. I remember this one time at work when I had just finished a big project, one I had put in countless hours on. Barely sleeping, making sure every little detail was perfect. I was genuinely proud of it. After the presentation, one of my colleagues, let's call her Lisa, walked up to me, smiled, and said, "Wow, I didn't expect that from you. That was actually really good." And just like that, the excitement I had felt about my hard work deflated. Wait, what does that mean? I didn't expect that from you? So, did she assume I was incapable? Was she surprised that I did something well? Should I be grateful for this compliment, or slightly offended? This is what we call a backhanded compliment, a sneaky little insult dressed up as praise. These comments are designed to sound supportive, but they actually serve to undermine you. Things like, "You look great today," I barely recognized you. You're actually pretty smart for someone in your field. This is good, considering you're new at this. Notice the pattern? There's always a little bit hidden in there, something that makes you feel like you should be thankful for the compliment, even though it's subtly cutting you down. People who give backhanded compliments often do it for one of two reasons. 1. They're insecure themselves. Your success makes them uncomfortable, so they try to keep you in check by making sure you don't feel too good about yourself. 2. They enjoy the power dynamic by praising you in a way that also diminishes you. They get to maintain a sense of superiority while still looking nice. And here's the thing. Most of us have received these kinds of compliments before. And let's be honest, we've probably given them, too, sometimes unintentionally, sometimes out of our own insecurities. But once you start recognizing them for what they are, they lose their sting. Now, whenever I get one of these so-called compliments, I don't just let it slide. Instead, I respond with something like, "Thanks. What do you mean by that?" It's amazing how quickly people backtrack when they have to explain themselves. At the end of the day, real compliments don't come with hidden jabs. They don't make you second-guess yourself. They don't leave you feeling less than. So the next time someone gives you a compliment that doesn't quite feel like a compliment, trust that instinct, because you deserve praise that lifts you up, not words disguised as kindness that are meant to keep you down. 3. When you realize you've been left out, and it wasn't an accident. It starts with a familiar feeling. You're scrolling through your phone, and there it is, a picture of your friends out at dinner, laughing, having a great time. You keep swiping, and there are more. A weekend trip, a game night, a party you never even knew about. And that sinking feeling sets in. Did I miss something? Did I somehow forget about this? But no one ever mentioned it to you. I remember the first time it really hit me. It was my birthday weekend, and I had casually mentioned to a few friends that I wasn't planning anything big but would love to hang out. They all said they were busy, work, family, other obligations, no big deal, right? Then, later that night, I opened Instagram. There they were, the same group, out together at a bar, clinking glasses, posting inside jokes in the captions. No one had even bothered to send a "wish you were here" text. It stung, and not just because I wasn't invited, but because it confirmed something I had been trying to ignore for a while. I was no longer part of the group. And let's be real, these things don't just happen. People don't accidentally forget to invite you. They don't leave you out of multiple plans by mistake. If someone wants you there, they make sure you know. If they don't, they let the silence do the talking. Of course, when you finally bring it up, if you even have the courage to, they'll act surprised. "Oh no, we thought you were busy," or "it was last minute." You know how it is. But deep down, you know the truth. If they had wanted you there, they would have made the effort. Here's what I've learned. Social exclusion is rarely about logistics, it's about priorities. If you find yourself consistently on the outside looking in, it's time to stop making excuses for people who don't value your presence. The hardest part? Deciding what to do next. Do you confront them? Do you fade out quietly? Do you keep trying to insert yourself into their plans, hoping one day things will change? I tried all of the above, but in the end, I realized that if I had to fight for a place in someone's life, it wasn't really mine to begin with. So here's the real takeaway. Stop chasing people who make you feel like an afterthought. The right friends won't make you wonder if you belong. They'll make sure you know you do. 4. They're always busy, but only when it comes to you. We all have that one friend who's always swamped. Work is crazy. Their schedule is packed. They barely have time to breathe. And at first, you get it. Life gets hectic. But then, something starts to feel off. I had a friend like that. Let's call him Matt. We used to hang out all the time, grabbing coffee, hitting up late-night diners, just talking about life. But one day, things changed. Whenever I'd text him, I'd get the same response: "Man, I'm so busy these days. Work's been insane. Let's catch up soon." Soon never came. At first, I didn't think much of it. We all go through stressful periods, right? But then, I started noticing something strange. While I was sitting there, giving him space, waiting for that mythical, better time to hang out, Matt somehow had time for everyone else. I'd see his posts, at concerts, out for drinks, going on road trips, and every time, a familiar group of faces would be there. Just, not mine. I told myself maybe he forgot. Maybe he thought I was busy too. Maybe I was overthinking it. But the more I saw, the more obvious it became. Matt wasn't too busy. He was just too busy for me. And that's when I learned something important. When people truly care about you, they make time. No one is that busy all the time. They might not have hours to spare, but they'll shoot you a text, invite you for a quick coffee, or at the very least, show some effort. When someone keeps telling you they're too swamped but has all the time in the world for others, what they're really saying is, you're not a priority. That's a tough pill to swallow, because it forces you to accept something you don't want to, that a friendship you valued may not be as mutual as you thought. So here's what I did. I stopped reaching out. Not in a petty, I'm cutting you off, way, but in a, let's see if he ever reaches out first, way. Weeks passed, then months, and the silence was all the answer I needed. If you're in this situation, let me save you some heartache. Stop chasing people who won't make time for you. Real friendships aren't about begging for someone's attention. They're about mutual effort. And the right people? They'll never be too busy to show you they care. 5. They avoid physical contact, and it's not just a coincidence. Ever been in a situation where someone subtly but consistently avoids any kind of physical contact with you? At first, you don't really think about it. Not everyone's touchy-feely, right? But then, you start noticing patterns. I had this experience with someone I considered a close friend. Let's call her Sarah. We were part of the same group, hung out often, and shared plenty of conversations. But something always felt a little off. Every time I'd go in for a hug, she'd step back slightly. If we were sitting next to each other, she'd shift away just enough to create space. And when it came to things like high fives or friendly pats on the back, she never initiated, ever. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe she's just not into physical contact. But then, I noticed she wasn't like that with everyone. She'd hug other friends without hesitation, lean in close when talking to them, and seemed perfectly comfortable with casual touch. It was just me she kept at arm's length. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about personal space. It was about comfort, and more specifically, her discomfort with me. See, physical touch isn't just about affection, it's a sign of trust, closeness, and connection. When someone avoids it, especially only with you, they're communicating something loud and clear. I don't feel comfortable getting close to you. And yeah, that sucks. Because when you realize it, you start replaying every interaction in your head, wondering what went wrong. Did I do something? Say something? Is there something about me that makes them uneasy? But here's the truth. Whatever their reason is, it's not your job to fix it. People's boundaries are their own. And if someone is deliberately creating distance, forcing closeness won't change that. So, I stopped trying. I stopped overanalyzing every little movement. Stopped initiating interactions that made her uncomfortable. And most importantly, stopped taking it personally. Because at the end of the day, the people who genuinely enjoy your presence will naturally let you in. You won't have to fight for a space in their world. And if someone always keeps you at a distance, literally and figuratively, believe them. Let them have their space. And invest your energy in people who actually want you around. 6. They disappear when you need them the most. You never really know who's in your corner until you're in a tough spot. It's easy for people to be around when everything's good, when you're fun, when you're successful, when you have something to offer. But the real test of a friendship? See who sticks around when life isn't picture perfect. I learned this the hard way. A few years ago, I went through one of the roughest patches of my life. Work was falling apart. A personal situation had me emotionally drained. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely overwhelmed. Naturally, I turned to my closest friends, expecting the same kind of support I had given them when they needed it. I sent out a few texts. Hey, I could really use someone to talk to. Nothing. Hours passed. Then a day. Then 2. One friend finally responded, sorry. Been super busy. Hope you're okay though. Another left me on read. And one, who I had literally stayed up with on the phone for hours during their breakup just a few months before, simply never replied. At first, I made excuses for them. They must be really swamped. Maybe they didn't know what to say. But then, I started noticing something. These same people who were too busy to check in were still active everywhere else. Posting stories, hanging out with mutual friends, making time for everything except me. That's when I had to face a tough truth. Some people are only around for the good times. They love the laughs, the parties, the moments when everything is easy. But when things get hard, when you actually need them, they vanish. And the worst part? If you bring it up, they'll act like you're being dramatic. Oh, I didn't realize it was that bad. You should have called again. But let's be real, when someone wants to be there for you, they show up. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not instantly, but they make the effort. They don't just disappear and hope you figure it out on your own. So, here's what I learned. Stop expecting support from people who only show up when it's convenient. If someone disappears every time you need them, don't keep chasing them. Instead, invest in the people who prove, time and time again, that they're really there for you. Because the people who truly care, they don't vanish when things get tough. They pull up a chair and say, "All right, let's figure this out together." 7. They talk behind your back, but smile to your face. There's nothing quite like the gut punch feeling of finding out someone you trust has been talking about you behind your back. It's like a betrayal wrapped in fake smiles and casual conversations. 1 minute, they're laughing with you, asking about your weekend, acting like everything's cool. The next, you hear from someone else that they've been trashing you the whole time. I remember the first time it happened to me. There was this guy. Let's call him Alex. We weren't best friends, but we were in the same circle, always hanging out at the same places. I never thought much of it, until one day, a mutual friend pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I thought you should know. Alex has been saying some pretty messed up things about you." I laughed at first. No, not Alex. It had to be a misunderstanding. But then I heard the details, things he had said word for word. Stuff that only someone close to me would know. He had been making fun of my work, questioning my abilities, and worst of all, acting like he was my biggest supporter to my face. That's when I learned an important lesson. If someone gossips about you, they were never for you. And let's be real, people who talk behind your back aren't just venting or sharing concerns. They're playing a game. Sometimes, they do it to make themselves look better. Sometimes, it's out of jealousy. And sometimes, it's just because stirring up drama gives them a sense of power. But whatever their reason, one thing is always true: it's not accidental. The worst part? They always have an excuse if you confront them. "Oh, I didn't mean it like that. I was just joking. Don't take it so seriously." Who told you that? They're twisting my words. Sound familiar? It's because these people are experts at dodging accountability. They'll make you feel like you're overreacting, like you're the problem for even bringing it up. But here's the thing. Real friends don't trash talk you when you're not around. If they have an issue, they tell you directly. If they respect you, they defend you in conversations, not join in the gossip. So what do you do when you realize someone's been talking behind your back? You could call them out. But honestly, most of the time, it's not worth the energy. The best response? Distance yourself. Stop trusting them. Stop sharing your wins, your struggles, your plans. Because if they've done it once, they'll do it again. And one last thing. Pay attention to how they talk about other people when they're with you. If they love spilling secrets and bashing others, guess what? You're not the exception. You're just next in line when you're not around. At the end of the day, life's too short to surround yourself with people who can't be loyal even when you're not in the room. Keep your circle full of people who celebrate you, not tear you down the moment you walk away. Here's the truth. You don't need to beg for respect. You don't need to tolerate subtle jabs, fake compliments, or one-sided relationships just to keep the peace. The right people, the ones who truly value you, won't make you question your worth. So take a step back. Look at the people around you. Are they uplifting you, or are they quietly tearing you down? Do they celebrate your wins, or do they downplay them? Most importantly, do they make you feel seen, heard, and appreciated? If not, it's time to cut the cord. Stop giving your energy to people who don't deserve it. Set boundaries, walk away when necessary, and remember, Losing fake friends isn't a loss. It's making room for the right ones. Now, here's your challenge. Think of one person in your life who constantly makes you feel small. Maybe it's through their jokes, their lack of support, or the way they exclude you. Ask yourself, do they deserve a front row seat in your life? If the answer is no, it's time to act accordingly.